Fred, a 30-year-old accountant, always dreamed of being an adventurer, but his life was monotonous. One day, tired of the dull routine, Fred packed his bags and decided to travel the world. He started in a small mountain village in Peru, where he was greeted by cheerful locals. Climbing the Andes, Fred realized he was out of shape, but pushed forward, determined to reach the top. On the first night, he camped under the stars, amazed at how vast and beautiful the world seemed. The following morning, a mischievous alpaca stole his hat, leaving him chasing it down the trail. Laughing at the absurdity, Fred felt more alive than he had in years. When he reached the mountain peak, Fred felt a sense of accomplishment he'd never known before. Standing above the clouds, he knew he'd never go back to his old life. His next stop was the Amazon rainforest, a place filled with danger and beauty. On his first day, he accidentally stepped into a colony of ants, leading to a hasty retreat. Laughing at his clumsiness, Fred brushed off the ants and continued deeper into the jungle. The forest was teeming with life, from colorful birds to the occasional slithering snake. Fred, usually terrified of snakes, learned to respect them as part of the jungle's ecosystem. He made friends with a local guide named Raul, who taught him the secrets of surviving in the wild. Raul took him to a hidden waterfall, where Fred swam in the cool, crystal-clear waters. Under the waterfall, Fred felt a surge of energy, as if the world was offering him a fresh start. Leaving the jungle, Fred flew to Paris, a place he'd always wanted to visit. In Paris, he tried every pastry he could find, gaining 5 pounds in just 2 days. He climbed the Eiffel Tower, enjoying the breathtaking view of the city below. As the sun set over the Seine River, Fred felt a deep sense of contentment. From there, he journeyed to Italy, where he explored the ruins of ancient Rome. Walking through the Colosseum, Fred imagined the gladiators who had once fought there. He made friends with an elderly couple who invited him to their farm in Tuscany. On the farm, Fred learned how to make pasta from scratch, laughing as he failed miserably at first. The couple told him stories of their life, teaching Fred the value of simplicity and hard work. With renewed appreciation for life, Fred headed to Africa for a safari adventure. In the Serengeti, he witnessed lions, elephants, and giraffes in their natural habitat. One night, he camped under the stars, listening to the distant roars of lions. In the morning, Fred found that a curious giraffe had poked its head into his tent. Startled but amused, he fed it some fruit before packing up his camp. His next destination was Japan, where he explored the bustling streets of Tokyo. Fred marveled at the blend of modern skyscrapers and ancient temples. He tried sushi for the first time and was surprised by how much he enjoyed it. In Kyoto, he attended a traditional tea ceremony, learning the art of mindfulness. The calm, slow pace of the ceremony contrasted sharply with his fast-paced travels. Fred realized that sometimes slowing down was just as important as moving forward. From Japan, he flew to Australia, where he dived into the Great Barrier Reef. Swimming among the vibrant corals and exotic fish, Fred felt like he was in another world. One day, while snorkeling, a playful dolphin joined him, making him laugh underwater. As he lay on the beach that evening, Fred reflected on how far he'd come. He had started this journey to escape his routine, but discovered a passion for life instead. His final destination was Iceland, where he chased the northern lights. On a freezing night, wrapped in blankets, Fred finally saw the lights dance across the sky. The sight was more magical than anything he had ever imagined. In that moment, Fred knew that life was about the experiences you chase, not the things you own. He stayed in a small cabin in the Icelandic countryside, where he began writing about his travels. Writing by the fireplace, Fred realized he had found a new calling. His adventures had taught him resilience, humor, and the importance of pushing past your comfort zone. But they had also shown him the beauty of quiet moments and reflection. Fred realized that every place he'd visited had offered a lesson. The mountains taught him perseverance, the jungle patience, and the cities the joy of exploration. He discovered that the world was far too big to be contained by a single routine. Fred sent his writings to a travel magazine, which eagerly published his stories. His articles became popular, inspiring others to take their own adventures. Despite his new success, Fred remained humble, always remembering how small he felt at the beginning of his journey. He knew that it wasn't about becoming famous, but about the personal growth he had achieved. Fred returned home to visit his family, who barely recognized the adventurous man he had become. His friends were amazed at the stories he had to tell, from swimming with dolphins to chasing the northern lights. But Fred didn't care about impressing anyone. He was proud of how much he'd learned and grown. One evening, Fred organized a small gathering in his backyard, where he cooked pasta the way he learned in Tuscany. As his friends and family enjoyed the meal, Fred shared his favorite memories from the journey. He spoke about the funny moments, like the alpaca stealing his hat, and the profound ones, like seeing the northern lights. His stories were full of laughter, wonder, and the occasional tear of gratitude. Everyone listened intently, inspired by his tales of courage, failure, and triumph. Fred reminded them that it didn't matter where they went, as long as they took the first step. His motto became, "Life is a journey, and you have to keep moving, no matter where the road leads." After the gathering, Fred started planning his next trip, eager to explore more of the world. He realized that his journey was never truly over, that there was always more to learn. His story was shared across social media, gaining attention from people around the globe. Travel companies began offering Fred sponsorships, allowing him to continue his adventures. He accepted a few, but only the ones that aligned with his love for authentic, meaningful travel. One day, Fred was invited to speak at a conference for aspiring adventurers. Standing on stage, he told them, "Don't wait for the perfect moment, create it." His speech was filled with humor and honesty, encouraging others to take risks. Fred shared his belief that failure was just another step toward success. The audience laughed when he told them about the ants in the jungle and his failed pasta attempts. But they also listened closely when he spoke about overcoming fears and pushing past limits. After the conference, Fred received messages from people who had been inspired by his story. Many thanked him for giving them the courage to pursue their own dreams. Fred replied to each message, humbled by the impact his journey had on others. He knew that his adventures were far from over, but he was excited for whatever came next. Fred continued traveling, writing, and sharing his experiences with the world. Each new place he visited added another chapter to his story. Along the way, he met people from all walks of life, each with their own unique journey. Fred learned that everyone had something valuable to share, no matter where they came from. He embraced the diversity of the world, finding beauty in the differences that made life interesting. As Fred's adventures continued, so did his personal growth, his sense of humor, and his love for life. He became known as the unstoppable Fred, not because he was perfect, but because he never gave up. Through every challenge, every funny moment, and every beautiful sight, Fred realized that life was meant to be lived fully. His story became a testament to the power of stepping outside your comfort zone. Fred's life was no longer defined by a dull routine but by the excitement of the unknown. He knew that the world was vast and full of surprises, and he was ready for all of them. Fred kept moving forward, never looking back, always chasing the next adventure. His journey became a lifelong quest for meaning, laughter, and growth. As Fred stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon on his latest adventure, he smiled. He understood now that life was not about reaching the destination, but about the journey itself. With that thought, Fred took a deep breath, ready for whatever came next. He knew that wherever the road led, he would face it with courage, curiosity, and a smile. After all, he was Fred the unstoppable adventurer, and his story was far from over.